Okay, and welcome again to one of our series of introducing the speakers for the CAV Forum 2024 being held in October in Geneva. And today I have great pleasure of introducing Sean Pardo from Toyota Gibraltar Stockholdings. That's it, TGS, I know them by.
Yeah.
So welcome, Sean. Welcome to the series.
Thank you very much, Rob, for having me.
Excellent. All right. So why don't we start? And Sean, why don't you give us a brief introduction about yourself and the work that you do there in TGS?
Well, I've been with TGS for now just coming up to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a kind of sort of a student trainee, which my background was in logistics and supply chain management, and had a very keen interest in vehicles and motor vehicles. So I obviously came from a university in Liverpool, John Moores, which I was studying logistics, and wanted this student program with TGS, where I went into the logistics department. And obviously,
Nice.
we were shifting thousands of vehicles a year to more than 100 countries. So it was very interesting. And that's how I started off in TGS. And then obviously I moved on to an opportunity arose as a full-time employee in the after-sales department. So my technical background, knowledge on vehicles kind of shifted to knowing more about the vehicles, and obviously what problems may arise from heavy use of vehicles, and even issues that such as recalls from Toyota. So I had that background. And then a further year along the line, an opportunity arose in the sales department, and I moved into that. And I think I've now been in the sales department for more than 2 years here at TGS. And just over a year ago, we've managed to more or less specialize our sales team in certain pillars, and I fall under the security pillar. I have my colleagues Jan, Dave, and Carol. And we mainly look after armoring customers and all those sort of customers that fall under the security umbrella.
Very good, very good. And look, it's important too that we raise this whole issue of the base vehicles and the civilian armored vehicle, because obviously without the base vehicle, you're not going to get the actual
very far, yeah.
Indeed. So hence why we've invited you along to present. So maybe you could give us a brief introduction to the type of things that you're going to be covering during your presentation at CAV Forum 2024.
So as you mentioned, Rob, we're looking at, obviously, as TGS and myself obviously presenting, is we'll be focusing on what the actual base vehicles for civilian armored vehicles are. We have, obviously, with Toyota, have a range of vehicles that obviously are suitable for those civilian armored vehicles. So we'll be mainly looking at, in particular, obviously, the very popular LC300, the Landcruiser 76. Obviously, as you may know, that's kind of now boarded up a new engine by Toyota, which is the GDJ 70 series, which is a 2.8 turbo diesel. So it's about obviously educating end users. Armors obviously know it very well. Procurement agencies to know the differences between what used to be as well the VDJ 70 series, now obviously the new GDJ 70 series, which is very new in the market. So we'll be showing that as a base vehicle, specifications, changes in obviously fuel emissions between the previous model and the new GDJ 70 series model. And we'll also obviously be showcasing our Toyota Prado 250 series, which has obviously just been released this year. And we are actually getting our first units in this month in July. So we will obviously be able to showcase what that model has, the features that it has, and for end users to actually see what type of differences are between the LC300, what's that's mainly used for, a lighter vehicle in the 250, and then obviously the harder hitting GDJ 70 series as well. And we'll obviously be able to compare and contrast and take on questions that many of the end users and procurement agencies may have on those base vehicles.
And
so that would be just a bit of a brief, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Sorry to interrupt. Look, I think that's a very important aspect for procurement agencies and fleet managers and users understand the different base vehicles that are available and are being used by different up-armourers for creating the armoured vehicle. And it really is not a one-size-fits-all program, depending on the area of operation, the environmental factors, the type of mission scenarios that are being performed, that different vehicles will suit different purposes. And we're very excited that you'll be able to explain to the attendees between the new 76, the 250, the 300, and also then relating back to the 200, because it would be, I'd be quite sure to say that most of the people would have 200 series currently in their fleets. And so having that knowledge for them will be enhancing their base understanding about their the vehicles that they use, that they maintain, and of course, ones that they're going to be buying into the future. All right. And so maybe just then to wrap up, what do you see as sort of one or two of the key challenges that you think are going to be faced by procurement agencies and fleet managers in relation to the base vehicles over the next couple of years?
Yeah. Well, one of them, Rob, and you briefly mentioned, is there's no one size fits all. We have seen that recently there has been obviously a move towards cleaner vehicles. And obviously Toyota bringing in the GGJ 70 series, as opposed to now what's obviously slowly dying down is the VGJ series, is more fuel efficient and economically green vehicles coming in. We have seen that now, obviously, with several countries in Europe as well, where there's higher emission standards. That's something that obviously the base vehicles will need to have a slightly higher Euro emission. So looking at Euro 5, Euro 6 models being brought into the fleet to be able to armor these base vehicles. So I think that the introduction of higher emission level, as in emission standards, vehicles will be a challenge. Obviously, us as a supplier of base vehicles, we need to be able to have ample stock to be able to meet those sort of target audiences, in particular with Europe. And it's something that we're obviously working on. So that is one of the main challenges that we're seeing. Obviously, we've stuck normally looking mainly at Africa, which have lower emission standards. But even now, we're seeing those certain countries in Africa which are actually raising those emission standards. So we obviously need to adapt to the market's demand. And that is something that obviously we have provide feedback to Toyota in Japan, because obviously we are there. We know what is expected from procurement agencies, end users, what they're telling us, and even armoring companies themselves. And we obviously relay that information back. So that's one of the things. And then I think challenge that we're seeing is obviously, which is where Rob, which you're doing fantastically, is ensuring that there's obviously education within that industry, where we'll be able to obviously communicate between the procurement agencies, the end users, the armoring companies, the base suppliers of vehicles, to come all together and obviously provide them with the exact information needed and education, because there's previous times where we do see technical information being relayed from maybe some procurement agencies, their previous tenders, and they kind of have the same information as from the previous, and that vehicle doesn't exist anymore. So it's about getting that information there, which is obviously why we'll be attending to ensure that there is this coming up in the pipeline. These new vehicles are out there, and if we don't spread that information, then nobody will know. So I think the lack of information being spread towards every single type of point of contact. So like I mentioned, the end user, the procurement agencies, the armoring companies, if we don't keep that going, then there's a risk of a lot of miscommunication going on, and obviously needs not being met when it comes to armored civilian vehicles.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think the procurement agencies and certainly fleet managers understanding the base vehicles that are out there that are being used for the production of the armored vehicle is critical, because if the base vehicle isn't operating effectively or efficiently, or in worst case scenario fails, then the whole armored vehicle as a system itself will fail. And therefore there is this symbiotic relationship, a very interconnected relationship between the base vehicle and then the armored vehicle as the system itself. All right. So thank you very much for your time. We look very much looking forward to seeing you in Geneva, and everyone watching the video, we look forward to seeing you also in Geneva in the end of October. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you enjoyed the interview.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Take care. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thanks.